Imagine living in a place that once symbolized the American dream, where millions came to make it big. But now, people are fleeing faster than ever before. New York, the city that never sleeps, is experiencing something it's never seen. A mass exodus that's shocking even the most seasoned New Yorkers. You won't believe the staggering numbers or the real reasons driving people away from what was once America's most desirable destination. From sky-high rents that would make your jaw drop to crime rates that have parents terrified, the Big Apple is rotting from the inside out. And guess what? It's not just happening in the city. Entire regions across New York State are hemorrhaging residents at an alarming rate. Some neighborhoods that were once thriving are now ghost towns, with for rent signs plastered on every corner and businesses shutting down overnight. What if I told you that New York lost more residents in recent years than some entire states have as population? What if the place that promised endless opportunities is now pushing away the very people who built its reputation? From crushing taxes to an impossible cost of living, these reasons may shock you. And if you're thinking about moving to New York, you might want to think twice. Stay tuned, because we're about to dive deep into why the Empire State is crumbling, and the stories we're about to share might just change how you see America's most famous city forever. The Great New York Exodus. Numbers don't lie. You won't believe the scale of what's happening in New York right now. We're not talking about a few thousand people leaving for better weather. We're talking about a mass migration that's rewriting the map of American cities. In recent years, New York has lost hundreds of thousands of residents, making it one of the fastest shrinking states in America. Census data shows that New York lost more people than any other state, with nearly 400,000 residents packing up and leaving between 2020 and 2023 alone. That's like an entire city the size of Minneapolis just vanishing. But here's what's really shocking. It's not just happening in one area. From Manhattan's luxury apartments to Buffalo's working-class neighborhoods, from Long Island's suburbs to upstate farming communities, people are fleeing in droves. The pandemic didn't create this problem. It just accelerated what was already happening. And where are they going? Florida, Texas, North Carolina, and Tennessee are the top destinations. States with no income tax, lower costs of living, and frankly, governments that aren't actively driving businesses away. Some moving companies report that 70% of their New York moves are people leaving the state, not coming in. The brain drain is real too. Young professionals, the lifeblood of any thriving economy, are saying goodbye to New York faster than you can say rent control. College graduates who once dreamed of making it in the Big Apple are now looking elsewhere before they even start their careers. Reason number 1, the cost of living crisis. Let's start with the elephant in the room, money. Living in New York has become financially impossible for anyone who isn't wealthy, and even the wealthy are starting to question if it's worth it. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan is over $4,000 per month. Let that sink in. That's more than most Americans make in an entire month. And that's just for a basic apartment that's probably smaller than your current living room. Want a 2-bedroom? You're looking at $6,000 or more, and that's before utilities, which can easily add another $200-300 monthly. But it's not just Manhattan. Brooklyn, once the affordable alternative, now has average rents pushing $3,500 for a one-bedroom. Queens isn't far behind. Even the Bronx, historically the most affordable borough, has seen rents skyrocket to levels that would have been unthinkable just a decade ago. Here's the brutal math. Financial experts recommend spending no more than 30% of your income on housing. In New York, that means you need to make at least $160,000 per year just to afford a basic one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. The median household income in America? About $70,000. You can see the problem. And it's not just rent. Groceries cost 20 to 30% more than the national average. A gallon of milk that costs $3 elsewhere will run you $4.50 in Manhattan. A basic lunch from a deli? $15-20 easily. Parking your car? Good luck finding a spot that costs less than $300 per month. If you can find one at all, the hidden costs are what really kill you. City taxes, state taxes, property taxes if you're brave enough to buy. They all add up to create a financial burden that's crushing middle-class families and pushing them to their breaking point. Reason number 2, the tax nightmare. Speaking of taxes, New York has created a system so punitive that it's literally driving millionaires out of the state. And if they're fleeing, imagine what it's doing to regular working families. New York has some of the highest taxes in America, period. The state income tax can reach 10.9% for high earners, and that's on top of federal taxes. But wait, there's more. If you live in New York City, you get hit with an additional city income tax that can add another 3.876% to your bill. Let's break this down with a real example. If you make $100,000 per year in New York City, you're paying federal taxes, state taxes, city taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and disability insurance. When the dust settles, you might take home $65,000 if you're lucky. That same $100,000 salary in Florida or Texas, you're taking home closer to $75,000, $80,000. Property taxes are equally brutal. The average property tax rate in New York is among the highest in the nation. In some Long Island communities, homeowners are paying $20,000, $30,000 per year in property taxes alone. That's like having an extra mortgage payment every month that never goes away. And here's the kicker. What are you getting for those sky-high taxes? Crumbling infrastructure, failing schools in many areas, and services that seem to get worse every year. It's no wonder people are asking themselves why they're paying premium prices for substandard results. The wealthy are voting with their feet. Hedge fund managers, celebrities, and business owners are establishing residency in Florida, Texas, or other no-income tax states. When the people who generate the most tax revenue leave, guess who gets stuck with the bill? Everyone else. Reason number 3, crime and safety concerns. Here's something the New York Tourism Board doesn't want you to know. The city that was once cleaned up and made safe is sliding backward, and residents are terrified. While city officials manipulate statistics and downplay the reality, anyone walking the streets can see what's happening. Subway crime has skyrocketed, with violent attacks, robberies, and harassment becoming daily occurrences. The subway system that millions depend on has turned into something many people actively avoid, especially at night. Random street crime is back with a vengeance. Smash-and-grab robberies, assaults on elderly residents, and brazen theft in broad daylight have become so common that they barely make the news anymore. Retail chains are closing stores and pulling out of entire neighborhoods because they can't operate safely or profitably. The homeless crisis has spiraled completely out of control. Tent cities have popped up in parks, under bridges, and on sidewalks throughout the city. Mental health crises play out daily on street corners, and many of these individuals are dangerous and unpredictable. Parents are afraid to let their children walk to school in neighborhoods that were considered safe just a few years ago. And it's not just about violent crime. Quality of life crimes, public urination, drug use in the open, aggressive panhandling, and general lawlessness have made daily life miserable for law-abiding residents. When you're paying $4,000 per month for an apartment, the last thing you want is to step over human waste on your way to work. The bail reform policies have made things worse. Criminals are back on the streets within hours of being arrested, often to commit the same crimes again. Police morale is at an all-time low, and many experienced officers are retiring early or leaving for other states where they feel their work is valued and supported. Reason number 4, the business exodus. The foundation of New York's economy, its businesses, are packing up and leaving, taking jobs and tax revenue with them. Major corporations that called New York home for decades are relocating their headquarters to business-friendly states. Financial firms are moving to Florida and Texas. Tech companies are choosing Austin over Brooklyn. Manufacturing companies that managed to survive in New York for generations are finally throwing in the towel. The reasons are clear: lower taxes, fewer regulations, cheaper real estate, and employees who can actually afford to live near their workplace. When a company can cut its operating costs by 40–50% just by moving to another state, the decision becomes obvious. Small businesses are getting crushed even worse. Restaurant owners talk about profit margins that have disappeared due to rising rents, higher wages, increased regulations, and customers who have less disposable income. Retail shops can't compete with online shopping when their overhead costs are through the roof and foot traffic has declined. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated this trend dramatically. When businesses were forced to close for months while still paying New York-level rents and taxes, many never reopened. Those that survived realized they could operate remotely or relocate to areas with lower costs and more supportive business environments. Commercial real estate tells the story best. Office vacancy rates in Manhattan hit levels not seen since the 1970s. Storefronts that once commanded premium rents are sitting empty with for lease signs that never come down. The tax base that supported New York's massive government spending is literally evaporating. Reason number 5. Quality of life collapse. Beyond the numbers and statistics, there's something harder to quantify, but equally important. New York's quality of life has deteriorated to the point where the supposed benefits of city living no longer outweigh the costs. The subway system, once the pride of the city, is now a nightmare. Delays are constant, breakdowns are frequent, and the condition of many stations is absolutely appalling. Rats scurry openly across platforms. Homeless individuals have taken up permanent residence in stations, and the smell in some areas is genuinely nauseating. Traffic has become unbearable. What used to be a 20-minute drive now takes an hour on a good day. Double parking, aggressive driving, and roads in desperate need of repair have made getting around the city an exercise in frustration. And don't even think about finding parking. It's either non-existent or prohibitively expensive. The education system is failing children across the city. While elite private schools thrive, public schools in many areas are overcrowded, underfunded, and producing graduates who aren't prepared for college or careers. Parents who can afford it are paying $40,000 to $60,000 per year for private school tuition, and those who can't are watching their children fall behind. Even basic city services have declined. Garbage pickup is inconsistent, street cleaning is a joke, and getting any kind of permit or dealing with city bureaucracy can take months. The city that once prided itself on efficiency has become a maze of red tape and incompetence. The cultural amenities that once made New York special are either too expensive for regular people to enjoy or have declined in quality. Broadway shows cost $200 and plus dollars per ticket. Museums have entrance fees that rival a day at Disney World, and many of the unique neighborhoods that gave the city character have been gentrified beyond recognition or allowed to decay. Reason number 6. Remote work changes everything. The pandemic proved something that New York's establishment didn't want to admit. For many jobs, you don't need to be in New York to do New York quality work. When millions of New Yorkers were forced to work from home, they discovered they could be just as productive from their apartments as they were from expensive Manhattan offices. But more importantly, they realized they could be just as productive from apartments in North Carolina, Florida, or Texas. Apartments that cost half as much and offered twice the space. The tech industry led the charge. Software developers, digital marketers, consultants, and other knowledge workers realized they could keep their New York salaries while living in places with dramatically lower costs of living. Why pay $4,000 for a studio apartment in Manhattan when you can get a 4-bedroom house with a yard in Raleigh for the same price unscreed? Even industries that seemed tied to New York began to disperse. Financial services firms discovered that many functions could be handled remotely. Media companies found that content could be created anywhere. Legal services adapted to virtual meetings and remote collaboration. This shift has been devastating for New York's economy. The high-paying jobs that justified the high cost of living are disappearing, but the costs remain. Commercial real estate is collapsing as companies downsize their Manhattan footprints or eliminate them entirely. For workers, the math is simple. Keep the same salary, cut your living expenses in half, and dramatically improve your quality of life. It's no wonder that so many are making the jump. The ripple effects. What happens next? The exodus from New York isn't just affecting the people leaving, it's creating a downward spiral that makes the situation worse for everyone who remains. As high earners leave, the tax burden shifts to middle and lower income residents who can least afford it. The state and city governments, facing massive budget shortfalls, respond by raising taxes even higher, which drives more people away. It's a vicious cycle that's accelerating with each passing year. Services are being cut while taxes increase. Schools are losing funding, infrastructure repairs are delayed, and public safety suffers. The very problems that are driving people away are getting worse, not better. Real estate values are starting to reflect this reality. While Manhattan luxury apartments still command high prices from wealthy foreign buyers, middle-class neighborhoods are seeing values stagnate or decline. Homeowners who thought their properties were solid investments are discovering they might be trapped in a declining market. The social fabric of communities is being torn apart. Longtime residents watch as their neighbors pack up and leave, businesses close, and the character of their neighborhoods changes. The sense of community that once made New York special is disappearing along with the people. The bottom line, is New York worth it anymore? So there you have it, the real reasons why everyone is leaving New York. From crushing costs to declining quality of life, from rising crime to business-hostile policies, the Empire State has created a perfect storm of problems that are driving away the very people who made it great. The question isn't whether people will continue to leave, they will. The question is whether New York's leaders will wake up and address these fundamental problems before it's too late. For some people, New York will always be worth it. The energy, the opportunities, the culture, these things still exist, at least in pockets. But for a growing number of Americans, the dream of making it in New York has been replaced by the reality of making it somewhere else. What do you think? Are these problems fixable? Or is New York's decline irreversible? Have you considered leaving New York? Or do you think the critics are wrong? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this deep dive eye-opening, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with others who need to see it, and subscribe to our channel for more content that reveals the truth behind America's biggest stories. Your support helps us continue bringing you the real story behind the headlines. The American dream isn't dead. It's just moved somewhere else. And for millions of former New Yorkers, that somewhere else is looking pretty good right about now.